Have you ever looked at the Titanic and thought, how is it even possible that something so massive was built over 100 years ago? No computers, no modern machines like today, no digital design tools, just human hands, raw engineering skill, and an ambition so big that it pushed the limits of that era. The Titanic wasn't just a ship, it was a statement, a promise, a symbol of power, luxury, and human confidence in technology. But here's the interesting part. Before it became a tragedy in history, the Titanic first had to be built, step by step, plate by plate, rivet by rivet. And the story of its construction is even more fascinating than most people realize. In today's video, we are going back in time to uncover how the Titanic was actually built, who built it, and what made it one of the most ambitious engineering projects in human history. So stay with me until the end, because what you're about to see is not just history, it's a journey inside one of the greatest construction projects ever attempted. Let's begin. At the start of the 1900s, the world was changing rapidly. Steamships were the backbone of international travel, connecting Europe and America across the Atlantic Ocean. Two major companies were competing for dominance in this ocean race. The goal was simple but powerful. Build the biggest and most impressive passenger ship in the world. Among them was the White Star Line. Instead of focusing on speed like their rivals, they decided something different. They wanted to win through size, luxury, and comfort. And that decision gave birth to an idea that sounded almost impossible at the time. A ship so large, so advanced, and so luxurious that people would not just travel on it, they would experience it like a floating city. That ship was named Titanic. But the name alone didn't reflect the scale of the challenge ahead. To bring this vision to life, engineers had to solve problems that had never been solved before in shipbuilding history. How do you build a ship that massive? How do you keep it stable in the ocean? And how do you design luxury on a scale never seen before? At that time, nobody had real answers. But work had already begun in their minds, even before the first steel plate was cut. Because this wasn't just about building a ship. It was about building a legend. In 1909, one of the most advanced shipyards in the world became the birthplace of the Titanic, the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, Ireland. And what happened there was nothing short of extraordinary. Imagine a place where more than 15,000 workers are constantly moving, hammering, lifting, welding, and assembling day and night. The air is filled with noise. Sparks fly from metal cutting. Massive steel plates are lifted into position by huge cranes designed specifically for this project. Every single piece of the Titanic had to be carefully crafted and fitted with extreme precision. There was no room for error. The hull of the ship alone required thousands of steel plates and millions of rivets, holding everything together. Each rivet was placed by hand by teams of workers, working in extremely tough conditions. Some worked at ground level. Others worked high above the ship's structure, assembling massive sections piece by piece. Think about this for a moment. This was not a factory product. This was a living construction process happening in real time. As the Titanic slowly began to take shape, its scale started to overwhelm even the workers building it. It wasn't just getting bigger. It was becoming something that looked almost unreal. The shipyard cranes looked small compared to its rising frame. Workers standing next to it began to feel like they were part of something far beyond normal engineering. Every day, the Titanic grew a little more complete. And every day, it looked more powerful, more advanced, and more ambitious than anything the world had ever seen. But behind all this progress, there was also pressure. Deadlines had to be met, safety standards had to be maintained, and expectations from the world were extremely high, because everyone already knew about this project. The world was watching, and nobody wanted it to fail. As the Titanic's structure continued to rise, the next challenge was even more important than size. It was safety. Engineers of that time believed they had created something revolutionary. The Titanic was designed with 16 watertight compartments running through its hull. The idea was simple. If one section of the ship got damaged, the others would remain sealed, keeping the vessel afloat. This design gave birth to a powerful belief, a belief that would later become famous around the world. People started calling it practically unsinkable. But at that time, it wasn't just marketing. Even engineers and designers had strong confidence in the system. Inside the ship, planning wasn't only about structure. It was also about luxury on an entirely different level. First-class passengers were not just traveling. They were experiencing a floating palace, Grand staircases inspired by European architecture, luxurious dining halls, decorated lounges, and elegant cabins made the Titanic feel more like a royal hotel than a ship. Every detail mattered. From woodwork to lighting, from carpets to furniture, everything was carefully selected to impress the most elite passengers in the world. But here's something important to understand. While luxury and innovation were increasing, some limitations were still present in safety planning. Not everything was fully prepared for worst-case scenarios. Still, the world focused more on its beauty than its risks. Because at that moment in history, the Titanic was not just a ship, it was a symbol of human achievement. After years of intense construction, the Titanic was finally ready to meet the water. On May 31, 1911, thousands of people gathered at the shipyard in Belfast to witness something truly historic. The atmosphere was electric. People had traveled from different places just to see the launch of what was already being called the greatest ship ever built. And then the moment arrived. The massive structure slowly began to move. As it slid toward the water for the first time, it wasn't just a technical launch. It felt like a historic event unfolding in real time. The Titanic entered the water with incredible force and grace, sending waves across the dock. Crowds cheered. Engineers watched proudly. Newspapers quickly reported it as one of the greatest engineering achievements of the century. At that moment, the Titanic wasn't just steel and rivets. It was hope. It was progress. It was human ambition turned into reality. But even after the launch, the journey was not over. The ship still needed final fitting, interior completion, testing, and preparation for its maiden voyage. And the world could not wait to see it sail. Behind all the excitement, there were also concerns that not everyone paid attention to. Some experts quietly pointed out that lifeboat capacity was not enough for every passenger on board. At the time, regulations did not require a ship of that size to carry lifeboats for everyone, and Titanic followed those rules. There were also concerns about overconfidence in the watertight compartment system. While it was advanced, it was not flawless under every possible scenario. But the biggest issue was mindset. The Titanic was widely believed to be one of the safest ships ever built. That belief created confidence, but also complacency. Warnings existed, but they were not the focus. Because in the eyes of the world, this ship had already been declared a success before it even sailed. What no one fully realized was that even the greatest engineering projects can still have limits, and those limits would only become clear later in history. So when we look back at the Titanic today, we often think of tragedy. But before that, it was something else entirely. It was a masterpiece of engineering, a symbol of human ambition, and one of the most extraordinary construction projects ever attempted. It was built with skill, dedication, and vision, but also with assumptions that time would later challenge. The Titanic teaches us something powerful. Even the greatest achievements in history are shaped by both brilliance and human limitation. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Past of the Time, and share your thoughts in the comments. What should we explore next? Another historical ship? A lost invention? Or a forgotten moment in time? Thanks for watching. And I'll see you in the next one.